One of the rules about visual expression is that texture and contrast bring an area forward in your paintings. Where this gets tricky is in scenes such as this, where the background has a lot of information. Today, I'm going to show you how I paint this and the decisions I make throughout the process to create depth in my painting. The first thing that I do is lay out my drawing. Well, in this layout, I have a lot of room here for the mountains. They take up a big amount of the painting. So after I've established my composition, I dampen the front and the back of my paper. I like this approach, especially in scenes like this, because watercolor timing can be tricky. And if your paper is drying too fast, it's harder to get soft edges. The first thing that I do is add a little bit of tone for the clouds. Now this is just a little bit of lavender and raw sienna up in the sky, and I start to tone the mountains. Now this tone for the mountains here, this is not the finished value. This is not as strong as I'm going to paint them. I'm going to go over the mountains again, but it's important to lay down these light values first in case there's a part that you want to paint around, there's information that you want to leave behind within your next wash. Now I laid in a little bit of color for the clouds. As I go in now, I'm painting around the clouds to define them. So I lay the blue up in the sky, and I'm paying a lot of attention to edges, soft edges, lost edges, hard edges. You can see these clouds are more soft edge, whereas here I have a bit of paper that's a little more dry and I'm getting a harder edge. And I'm adding a little bit more value on the underside of the cloud to give it a little bit more form. After I lay in the clouds, I can go in with a damp brush and soften some of the edges before everything dries. So that's one thing I pay a lot of attention to, is where do I have hard edges, where do I have lost edges, and before I just let everything dry, I go in and take another look at that and I soften some edges if I need to. Now I'm bringing that wash down to where the buildings are here, and then I'll go ahead and lay in some light tone for the road and other light areas down here in the scene. And there are the light values of the scene. So my paper at this stage, it's not dry yet. It's still damp. This is when I want to go back in and carefully paint the mountains. If I wait until the paper is completely dry, it's all going to have hard edges. But in order to help it sit further in the background, I'm moving in before my paper has completely dried. Now it's still damp, it's still malleable is what I like to say, but it's not dry yet. To do this, you really want to pay attention to how loaded your brush is. So if I'm using a lot of water and using a mop brush, if I go back up and try to paint up here, it's going to destroy what I've already painted. So it'll bloom and create a mess. But if I can go back up and be really mindful of how much paint and water I have on my brush, I can paint and get a softer edge while the paper is still damp. So here I'm using some raw sienna, some Cobalt Turquoise, and I'm starting up at the top of the mountain here. It's not like painting on wet paper where the mark just completely disperses. I can get a soft edge that still has a little bit of definition, but it's not a hard edge. And that's an important distinction. So I'm starting up at the top of the mountain, and why I laid that light color in first was to show some of the tree line. So if you look at the mountains, you can see where the trees are, and there are some gaps and some other things going on. I can create that feeling by painting around what I laid down first. Now I'm carefully painting this, trying to not use too much water in my wash, and trying to get to this while it's still damp. So working my way around the scene, and you can see when I touch the paper how it's creating that soft edge. That's what I'm going for. And I bring that mark down to near the bottom. And now the mountains are looking pretty good, but what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of the cloud shadow. If you look in the reference photo, one of the things that I really liked was that cloud shadow laying on the mountain. So I'm going to mix up some Cobalt Blue, a little bit of neutral tint, And I'm going to carefully try to drop in that cloud shadow now on top of what I just painted. And this time I'm using a different brush, an Escoda Perlis size 18. That's a synthetic brush. It holds less water than a mop brush, but it's still big enough that I can create a decent sized mark. And you can see that's a soft mark. It's defined, but it's not hard edged. See how it kind of drifts on the paper a little bit and settles? That's what I'm going for. So that little touch of blue to hint at the cloud shadow. One thing that's easy to do when you're painting mountains is to get really sucked in to the detail, all the little details, the rock formations, the trees, things like that. What you want to do is minimize that as much as you can. So here, I wanted to create a little hint of that rock formation, but I didn't want to get too involved and start creating a lot of detail in the background that would compete with the rest of the painting. So I'm carefully dropping some of this in while it's damp to just suggest at some of those rock formations on the mountain. And now I'm coming down and adding some deeper, richer green into these trees to help those feel closer. And after all that, the background of my scene is essentially done. So I laid in the light values of this first, then I went back in and laid in the green on top of that, and then I laid in the shadow shapes on the mountain, and then we have a nice impression of a mountain that can sit in the background that won't compete with the rest of the painting. So after that part is done, I'm ready to add in the details down here in the lower part of my scene, and I'll skim through this to let you see what that looks like. The shadow on the side of the house, into the details of the trees, the big shadow shape that is kind of sweeping across the road there, and the details on the cars. And I used a little bit of gouache here to define this tree over here and to add in a few highlights. I was at this stage and I knew I wanted to add a shadow in the foreground, so I dampened my paper once more at the bottom, and then I dropped in my shadow with some soft edges there, and finished a few little details around the scene, added the yellow line of the road, and there's a look at the finished painting. I hope that look at painting mountains is helpful for you. It kind of highlights that balancing act of including enough information to do those mountains justice, but still understanding that they are simply a background in my painting. And if I give them too much detail, if I get too involved in the texture and the hard edges and everything that I can see back there, then I'll really be competing with the rest of the painting and I'm going to lose my feeling of depth. So the idea is pay attention to timing, and less is more. Understand that when you get the rest of the details into your scene, that mountain will sit nicely in the background. If you have questions about my process and would like to know more about how I paint, take a look at this. Have you ever been really excited about a painting and you get all set up, you find that right reference that you're excited about, and then it's time to go and you feel lost? I have a free resource that I want to give to you today that can help with these problems. My 5 steps to plan a successful watercolor painting. I walk you through the crucial planning phase of your painting that will help you understand what you're going to paint first, second, and third. The planning is really so important, especially in watercolor. This medium is harder to correct. It's so immediate. So having that plan is very important. I send you a PDF that you can download. And the great thing about this is you can have it on your phone. You can print it out. You can download this right now before you start your next painting. All you have to do is follow this link here and download my 5-step guide to planning a successful watercolor painting.